Damn, I'm smoking the hell out of this cigar.
And we can't afford not to record.
Hey, we're back.
We're back. And so this has been a pretty good month. So it's just running episodes back to back. You should be hearing them.
Mm-hmm. If you haven't heard, previous episode we talked about Cat Williams. Talked a little bit about the election.
Talked a little bit about the election.
What we talking about now, brother? They don't want to know what we've been talking about. What we're going to talk about now?
We know what we're going to talk about next. I got to tell you, I think I need to go back to how we have conversations with people who don't agree with us. It's kind of where my next big thing is.
Well, how do we handle it?
Well, I was going to say there's three ways that we handle them. There, and you know what? I've gone to calling them: know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away. So when to hold them is me.
You gonna hold them?
I'm gonna hold them. I'm gonna ask why,
yeah,
and try and get a definition and what are you thinking, and go in that way.
I feel like you also have an intent to change somebody's mind or perspective.
I don't think that's possible.
I know it's not possible.
But I think what you can do is you can let somebody talk enough to the point that they hear themselves. And I think that part is key. Is so that I think that's why I push a lot of questions like, do you think this thing? You know. And so, but what I'm discovering is Democrats, I'm starting to have a little bit of trouble with. It's because Democrats are starting to pull a similar hard line. Like, if you cannot come up with two good things that Donald Trump has done, you do not need to have a political discussion with somebody who is a Trump supporter. Because it's not hard.
Also, I've told you that I can empathize with Trump supporters. I know why they support this man. Because I went in with the same blind feeling with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
You know, the same. I didn't know his policies. I know I liked the man. I know I could see myself in him. So that's what led my decision to vote for Barack Obama. And I can see that in his Trump supporters.
Is that they see themselves in Donald Trump?
Yes.
Okay. That gets tough.
Because you've brought up, I can't understand why somebody would vote for Trump. You brought this up several times.
Yeah.
You know,
because it's just two big things that are like, that guy hosted an election nobody trusts.
Okay.
Why would we give him another election?
This man, Barack Obama, fumbled the Flint water crisis.
He did.
I voted for him again.
Yeah. I mean that is fair.
And to me, he directly affected people that I saw more myself in than him.
Oh Lord! And I know why I voted for him after he fumbled the Flint water crisis.
Why?
I didn't care about the people in Flint.
Oh.
I mean, it pains me to say that now, but I've got to be honest. I wasn't fully aware he fumbled it. I didn't know he sipped that water like that until after he was out of the office. I didn't know what he did to the people in Flint because I didn't care.
I think it was also eye-opening to me that president has no power.
He's got a bully pulpit and a veto. So I'm in the chat room.
Oh, Lord.
I'm in the chat room. It's like left-right debate. And I'm the liberal in there. And they were like,
I'm sure you're outnumbered in this chat room.
Outgunned, outmanned. But I was in there and they said, well, if you were president, what would you do? And I was like, first thing I'd do is I'd go around making speeches about campaign finance reform. And then they were like, speeches? Why wouldn't you just do it? I was like, because president doesn't have that power. He can convince Congress and then promise not to veto the bill when it comes across. But the president really can't force it. And they're like, you don't get this exercise. Go pick another topic.
What's funny is The only people I hear call, the presidency a dictatorship or refer to it as a dictatorship are conservatives. When referring to Biden, I'm like, he's probably the worst dictator we could have.
Absolutely terrible. He is an awful dictator. Oh, look how hard it is for him to get loans forgiven. You know how many Americans hate their student loans? Oh, man. That one I thought was going to be a winner for him. I don't think it's going to be.
Hey, this man better pull something out before I vote for him. Because I ain't gonna lie, if Trump says he's gonna forgive student loans,
you got a better chance of it from Trump.
Hey,
because Trump can convince Republicans to do things.
I'm a selfish voter.
I think everybody is. Well,
but
it depends on what they prioritize.
What would it take for you to vote for Trump then?
To vote for Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm.
The loan forgiveness would help a whole lot. Honestly, a new health care bill or new infrastructure bill.
Yep.
The infrastructure, I thought he had that in the bag. Like, when he first got elected, I was even walking around like, well, I don't particularly like him, but we're going to have new roads soon.
The repackaged Obamacare.
I didn't think he was going to get the health care done. That one I could see from a mile away when he's like, we're going to have new health care. It's going to be better.
He changed the name of it, Affordable Care Act.
It was always the Affordable Care Act.
I know, but he had referred to it as Obamacare. It went from Obamacare to the Affordable Care
Affordable Care. Well, I knew he couldn't do anything on that because it almost cost Barack Obama a second term getting the Affordable Care Act. So there was no way he was going to get this thing either undone, and because it's outside of the president's purview. That was done the right way. Barack Obama went out and campaigned on it, got enough people elected to get it.
Took some
through
stuff
Congress.
out there that I didn't agree with.
He made concessions
in order to get it passed,
and now it's codified. So president can't change it. Congress is going to have to change it. Congress is a beast. I thought Donald Trump could corral more of Congress towards infrastructure spending. And he didn't.
No.
Instead, he dumped a ton of money into the military and created another branch of the military, like a hole. We know all of the branches of the military are this huge hole that we dump money into willy-nilly because we're afraid of the rest of the world.
What gave me hope?
You thought
I was in my 30s, man. I
can
get in the Space Force.
Boots on the moon. Oh, man. Yeah.
So you just said you'd be willing to overlook all that he had done in COVID if he
got a health care package together. Absolutely.
Okay.
If I got COVID next time, but we had a good health care system, that'd be all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hit Trump. Here's your chance to get us.
But the problem is the way he promises things. I feel like I can tell stuff that Donald Trump honestly intends to do, and stuff that he doesn't. If he tells me I've already got a plan, I'm like, he ain't gonna do that. He's like, I got this health care bill. It's better than anything ever. I'm like, he's not gonna get health care done, because the First Step Act came out of nowhere, where he commuted the sentences of a lot of those folks. That came out of nowhere. It was bipartisan. It was through Congress. He did it correct. That wasn't on my radar for Donald Trump to do. I completely supported that. It disappointed me that it was a First Step Act and then we didn't take no more steps. But that's one, I can put that into Donald Trump did a good job on that. I think he did it the right way. Even because I asked the president of Virginia State about him supporting the HBCUs, and the president of Virginia State said yes. He's like he ain't like he's saying he is. It wasn't that big. It wasn't that.
It was just a photo op.
It was a little more than a photo op.
I don't know what came about. I know there was a big photo.
There was a lot of photos.
Okay.
And a lot of bragging. A lot of people would tell me, like, oh, black people are doing better under Trump. Look what he did for HBCUs. And he simplified the funding process that had been traditionally kind of procedural. So they would have to come and talk. But I think in some ways, they preferred to come and talk because they had an ear. So some of it was a gain and some of it was a loss. So I don't think our president of Virginia State was like, this was a great thing. But he was like, It happened.
Well, we can't forget what was it Mackenzie Bezos did for HBCUs?
Yeah. Gave Bezos' money away.
Hey, shout out to Miss Bezos. She did wonders for Virginia State. You know, going back to that campus, almost 20 years later, after I graduated, seeing how that money has affected our campus. It is amazing. It's night and day. Like it's going from an antenna to having having all the channels with all the streaming services.
You know, now in that debate, in
Okay.
the left-right debate, I pitched my reparations idea
Now,
with the historically black colleges.
you got to share it on
The
air.
reparations idea is the way we should do reparations in this country is to offer free college at every historically black university at the same acceptance rate they have now and fund it.
I'm all for it. Also, if we have any conservative listeners out there, historically black college is not exclusionary.
Right. So that's the first thing we got to change is we have to go like,
You know,
we
we've
can't-
always allowed whites in our
Yes.
schools. Matter of fact, we provide them with minority scholarships.
And even before that, Howard University, one of Howard's daughters attended during the first class. So there's always been white students at historical.
Well, even when
West
historically
Virginia
black
State.
colleges started, they had white professors.
Yep. So that
And matter of fact, the dormitories were named after Confederate generals.
in some cases,
You know, I'm glad that since then we've renamed them. Yeah. Whiting has been renamed. Several of those dormitories that were named after Confederates,
Well,
famous
now,
Confederates.
and I will say, I don't think the problem was that they were Confederates, because someone who fought for the Confederacy and then worked to make sure there was funding for historically black colleges, they had their name on a building. I don't think there would be a big problem.
These people didn't do anything.
There was an issue where several of these folks fought against the funding for some of these historically black colleges, but because they were in the state congresses, they still squeezed their names in on some of these buildings. And so some of this is about adjusting historical record. But one, we can't call them historically black colleges anymore.
Why not?
So that's the feedback I got from the group.
Why?
Is as soon as you label something black, it becomes divisive.
I mean, yeah, we know this.
So we got in the
how
reparations package.
they view the Black Lives Matter movement.
So
It's tainted.
it's tainted.
I can't touch
Right.
it.
So
It's got the word black in it.
here's the
I
suggestion.
agree with everything y'all are saying except for the title.
Traditionally integrated schools.
I don't like it.
We don't have, well, those are just the schools that we'll allow this funding for. So if you have a school that is 100 years old or older and has never been segregated, make that a tuition-free college.
I agree with that, but I don't. Why does the name have to be changed?
Because
And maybe this is me trying to hold on to my heritage, like anybody who views the Confederate monuments.
I think that's it.
But I still feel like it's an accurate depiction of history.
And it may be, but some of this is about
Until I'm proven wrong, I don't think the name needs to be changed. Now,
Now, would you would hold on to that name and lose funding?
oh hell no,
That's what is at stake.
I'm not happy with it, but
If
for the greater good, I will change.
That's what I'm suggesting. If we reform this reparations package and say traditionally integrated schools will have full funding at current acceptance rate for the next 400 years.
Yeah.
Same amount, same time slavery existed.
Damn it, I sound like my buddy. You know, I'm holding on to Columbus
Well,
Day.
here's the
Darn
thing.
it.
But you can personally. You can still wear a shirt that says HBCU. enjoy. But when we present it to the masses, and the other thing is, some of them will not attend as long as it's called a black college. The idea that black is divisive, that black is lesser than, that black is not as good, just that idea will prevent them from attending some of these schools.
I don't think it's going to change with the name change.
Which part won't change?
Them allowing their children to attend.
Oh yeah, their kids are going to go.
If the name is changed?
Whether name changes or not, as soon as these schools become free, tuition free, their kids are going to these schools. To be able to go to Virginia State University at its current tuition rate's a pretty good deal. Being able to go to Virginia State University for free would be amazing.
They can go for free.
I guess that is the other thing. Well, don't tell them that. Now
they know.
They know. I don't think they know.
Well, we're letting them know. I let everybody know. I'm proud of it.
All right, well, let them know
anybody,
about the minority scholarship.
Anybody who asks me where I went to college, I will tell them I went to a historically black college. Mm-hmm. And your child can too. The difference is they can go for free, and I couldn't because of the color of my skin.
Yeah. I would not say it's because of the color of your skin. I would say it's because white people are valued and are underrepresented on those campuses.
No, that's true. That's true.
If you went to Virginia State and you were white, you earned your spot the same way as if you were black and you earned your spot.
Yeah. And I will say I respect every white person that went to Virginia State. Man, there was some cool people. Like the smartest person in my African American studies class, was a white guy. And not your, dresses black, assimilates white person. No, this was a guy who
was he a hippie?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he was an older student. So I think at the time I might have been 20, and he was probably about 30, maybe 35.
That's why he was so smart. There's just a lot of ignorance in youth.
He looks like your average Franklin County person. Like they would get up and leave class and then go fishing. But man knocked it out of the park. I think he's the only person who got an A+ in that class.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, convincing everybody that HBCUs are worth exploring, no matter what your race is. That part gets difficult. It gets difficult because white supremacy is not what people think it is. Also, so I think there's this belief that white supremacy is using the N-word and saying that you hate black people or somehow hating black people. I don't think people understand that you can be a white supremacist and like white people, like black people.
Yeah. Because that's not the white supremacist that I come in contact with.
Yes.
Because they don't see that they are, because I've got black friends. They don't see that they are holding on to that white supremacy.
Let me run you down a path.
Okay.
That I often go down.
Let's go. I got my shoes on.
Okay. So you'll hear this from people who have a white supremacist stance. Say that half of the crime in this country is committed by 13% of the population.
Okay.
Okay. Now, and you go, that's a racist statement. They'll go, listen, it's not racist. Go check the crime statistics. Half of everybody who's arrested for crime is black. Half the crime in this country is committed by black people.
What? You went from 13% to half.
13% of the country is black.
Okay.
So half of the crime is
of
only
half of that 13%.
No. Half of all crime is committed by 13% of the population.
Oh.
So now people repeat this. Candace Owens repeats this.
Okay.
They'll say black people commit disproportionate amounts of crime. Most of the crime that's committed in this country is committed by black people. And we only make up 13% of the population. How is it that we are 50% of the criminals?
Because we're police different.
Now that gets hard to prove.
Unless you're a black person.
Well, yeah.
I know I get police different.
But if you come into an argument with that statement, You've been.
It is. It's hard to prove. It is.
Well, if you listen to the policeman, if you do what the policeman says, if you don't have anything on you, but the truth is, it's exactly what Richard Pryor talked about when he said he went to that jail to shoot that movie. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go down there." He was like, "They needed to be in jail." Some of them folks was criminals.
Mm-hmm.
We are very likely arresting criminals. The people we're putting in jail are very likely criminals. The problem is we don't solve crime in this country. So we solve 1 in 5 crimes, about 22%.
Okay.
So it's not that black people are more criminal. Black criminals are more likely to get caught.
Yes.
The truth is we don't solve enough crime in this country to know who's committing the crime.
Okay. And I'd go a step further to say that instead of solving crimes, they create them. Kind of like when they went into a black neighborhood, impoverished neighborhood, with a truck, like a Foot Locker truck, and just opened it and waited for crimes to happen.
Did that really happen?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, and I don't know. I think those things get to be true. They get harder to describe. But if you ask somebody, why is it that 50% of the people arrested are black? The answers that follow. Have you been down this path before?
Yes.
They'll say fatherlessness. Like your fathers are all leaving the homes.
I equate it to opportunity. Most people are opportunists. The same way, a truck pulls up that has shoes exposed, and you the chances you walking by, you think the chances of me taking a pair of these shoes and not getting caught, and is very slim. The same way doctors, will charge you for a rectal exam when clearly they don't have to. I think you brought up in this instance where you were worried about rectal cancer. Mm-hmm. So you addressed it with your doctor. He said, you don't meet the criteria. I think he was able to
He asked me about 3 questions.
curb your fears through questions.
Yeah.
Was also able to bill you for a rectal examination.
I don't think he did he? I don't know.
Okay, maybe a different instance.
Yeah, I don't know. I love my doctor. I don't think he billed me for he just asked me, and if he did, it hit the insurance. But he did have to ask some uncomfortable questions, so he deserves a little bit of pay. Well, I think that the problem with the white supremacy part is if you get into those statements, so they say, well, black fathers are absent from the home. And you go, well, why are black fathers absent from the home? And they go, well, because of welfare. They're paying the fathers to leave. And I go, what do you think is wrong with black men that they would take money to abandon their children? Because that's an issue of supremacy. Like something is wrong with black men that's not wrong with the rest of the world, that we would just take money to leave our kids. And that is not true about us. No. It is not true about any of the black men I know. Not any of them. That's not true about most of the black men I know.
So you know black men that would...
I know black men who have children that are theirs that they do not claim.
Because they're paid?
No, because they don't believe it. In a lot of cases, I think it's because they're not capable and they're not willing to admit that.
Do you know white men like that?
Yes.
Okay. So to me, I don't
right. It's not out of bounds, but
yes.
It still seems like an equal percentage.
Yes. But
what they're saying is black men are more criminal. Black people are more criminal because something is different in us than is different than them. Like down to they think we're genetically different. Like black genes are different than white genes.
I guess I could see that they'd say this.
Yep.
But I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it either. And in fact, that is kind of the root of white supremacy. Mm-hmm. Is if black people are a different species, there's a reason to treat them different. Because they're going to make different decisions in the same circumstances than you would. And that one gets harder to talk all the way through. Because I kind of ended up in one of these conversations where they were like, black people have different genes than white.
So how
people.
do they explain your genes?
What do you mean, my genes?
You haven't done any of these things.
That doesn't catch everybody. It's only half.
But
we're in
you
greater
share the
percentage.
same.
I think one of the better ways is sickle cell.
Yes.
So sickle cell as a gene is primarily in black people. And so that's the example he would use. Like the same thing way you got sickle cell is probably how you also got criminality. Like you and I don't have sickle cell, but if I marry another person with sickle cell, we might have a kid with sickle cell. Like I got the black criminal gene. If I marry somebody else with the black criminal gene, we might end up with a black criminal.
You just got the recessive criminal gene.
You got the recessive criminal gene is what's going on, is some of that belief. And so that one gets harder to talk through because there is just a belief that there's something at the genetic level. And so when they ask me, they're like, okay, well, why do you think black people have sickle cell? I go, well, I think everybody has sickle cell. I think it originated in places where darker skin was more prevalent. And because of a huge segregated population for the last couple thousand years, like up until the 1960s, we were allowing interracial marriages. That gene has remained with people who were more melanated. But as soon as that happened, there are more populations getting it. There are Hispanics with sickle cell. There are white people with sickle cell. The trait has been relegated because of segregation. But every human has the same possibility of getting it as everyone else, depending on who you marry. We're not different. There's no difference between black people and white people.
We're not different.
Which then because this now goes back to the critical race theory. If we're not different, why are half of the arrests black in this country? If you're not allowed to say because black people are different.
I still, because we're police different. The same way that you could ask any white person where the majority of drugs would be in Franklin County. If they say in the income-based housing, you can ask them, do you think there are more drugs in the income-based housing or on Ferrum College's campus?
Well, now, Ferrum's very black. So I don't know.
It's not half.
It's not half yet? Okay.
No.
I thought it was getting there. But I think that is one of the better points, I think, of all. The fact that we go into, like, poor and black neighborhoods in those to look for drugs. But we don't spend any time at college campuses looking for drugs. And I mean, to the point where they started making movies all through the 90s about how easily you had access to alcohol and drugs as a college student. Like, that was the theme. And I got to Virginia State, a historically black college. You didn't have access to drugs and alcohol in the same way.
No.
That was listed on in the movies.
No. Man, it was totally different. Yep, we had to make road trips to Tech or Radford in order to get alcohol on campus.
This is dry campus.
Even still, I'm looking over my shoulder. You can drink in your room?
Because we're police different. But that one is a hard one for someone to see without experiencing. And so that one gets difficult. This one's a little bit longer. Not much. But now is also a good time to call this episode.
Is misunderstood?
I heard a man talking, didn't know what he was saying, but he kept on spilling. His words just the same. His mind seemed scrambled like a burned out candle, with half the wick missing and a nothing for flame. Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'd be in a place instead. It just kept talking 19 to the dozen, like a worn out needle, tripping right across that groove. He said there's a silence that's creeping in darkness. But why look for answers when there's nothing to prove? Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'll be in a place instead. If time were elastic, would we dare ask it to hold on to something, for it melts down like ice? And if we could listen, we'd hear back the laughter, 'cause no one ever wades through the same river twice. Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'll be in a place instead.